Hey everybody.
What's going on?
Amen.
Hello, hello.
Go. Happy Wednesday to everybody.
Hey,
It's popping
is it
in.
freezing just on my
We're how
end
freezing are we
or?
talking? It's not freezing for me. Is anyone else freezing?
Okay, now you're good.
Okay, lovely. Lovely.
I kept seeing you like,
Andrew, and then we can get running, guys. Give them a couple more minutes to join, and we'll kick off. Appreciate everyone who has attended thus far that is live. Definitely appreciate you as we go throughout this. Please feel free to drop any questions, any feedback, or anything whatsoever that you'd like from any of the speakers that we'll be touching on today. Always love to have that at the end to go over any actually real feedback that you have. Okay.
I have
And I'm sorry, go ahead.
a question, Ian, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Uh, yeah, I need to reset my Wi-Fi. It seems like it keeps interrupting. Be able to be here up until the end. Is the Q&A, are the Q&As going to be after each speaker or
At the very end. So you can go ahead, Alina, and you can do what you have to do.
only all of
And
them at the end?
Alina, it's going to be all of them at the end. You can do what you have to do, reset the Wi-Fi, and I'm sure we'll be okay. We're just going to kick off now and get running, and we should be okay. The way we spaced out the lineup, you should be back with plenty of time. Awesome. Alrighty, guys. So, going to kick off right now and just kind of set the frame for everything that we're gonna touch on today. Because before we get into today's session, we get to hear from all these lovely speakers. Again, I just want to set the foundation for what we're going through currently today as a topic as a whole. And first, start with myself. So my name's Ian Rollin Berry, and I'm the founder of AMZ Expand, and we are a boutique agency focused on holistic CPG growth. I spent over a decade building and scaling 7 and 8 figure brands on Amazon, both my own and for clients. And the lens I'm bringing today is simple. It's from the aspect of Amazon didn't suddenly become harder, which seems to be like a common topic that's often thrown around nowadays. But what has happened is the margin for error has disappeared, and that's a very different diagnosis. Most brands tend to think that competition has, you know, exploded, ads have gotten too expensive, Amazon overall is tightening, but the platform itself didn't fundamentally change at its core. What's changed is that weak systems no longer allow for scale. And 10 years ago, you could get away with inefficiency on Amazon. You could have thinner margins, you could have poor creative, you could have mediocre product, you could pop on PPC, and because you existed within the ecosystem where others didn't, you could still grow. But that cushion that existed for having, poor inputs and not having an optimized program is gone, long gone. Today, as we all know, CPCs are tighter. Reviews matter more than anything else with regards to, creating that ecosystem of proof of concept. And supply chain mistakes, especially, if you're not hammered down with regards to your ecosystem from that perspective, are extremely expensive. Not to mention customers with regards to, being value conscious is again at its highest in that respect. Your margin for error, which previously existed, has collapsed. And when that happens, what's happening with a lot of organizations is you're starting to see weak inputs that were in your system before just simply becoming amplified. And the best way that I like to look at this is I kind of like to reframe this in general. And I like to look at Amazon as just a distribution engine. Um, it's prime real estate if you're serious about e-commerce as a brand, but it doesn't fix flawed operations. If your operations are flawed and your inputs are flawed, it just multiplies them. Um, if your inputs are strong, they can scale you. But if your inputs are weak, it can expose you. And when I say inputs, I'm not like speaking abstract. Like I want to be very finite as to what those are. I'm referring to, in my opinion here, the five core inputs that I've distilled down to that have determined whether a brand compounds on the platform or stalls after overseeing hundreds of millions in revenue for brands. The first of the five is product. I'm talking real differentiation, actually problem solving, addressing customer friction, and with clear positioning. If your product is like weak, unclear, or offers no differentiation nowadays, like PPC will no longer save you. You will get exposed. You will just get exposed faster from PPC spend. With regards to, the second, it's margins and your inputs with respect to margins. Um, you need clean and competitive COGS. You need a healthy contribution margin, and you need room to acquire customers comfortably. If your margins are too thin, scaling can become stressful, ads can feel too expensive, and the cash in your cash flow gets tight quick. It often I find that, especially new brands entering ecosystem, your SKU economics have no buffer, and that's often your bottleneck. I've seen that honestly among established brands as well. Um, from the third pillar, we go into your positioning and your creative inputs. A value-based offer that's evident to customers is integral. Your messaging has to be on point. Photos have to be phenomenal. I often say within the e-commerce space, we're selling pictures before we're actually selling product. Um, Strong creative has to educate. If the customers don't see the value, they're gone. And many brands will look at it and say, well, hey, conversion is down. Sure, that's one way of looking at it. But, I tend to like to say the position of it's not down per se. But what you're seeing is it's customers reacting. Once you understand it's customers reacting, it's like, okay, well, then we can take a step outside of that and what might be the things that they're reacting to leaving towards bounce. And then we're starting to have somewhat of a different, I like to say, discussion around more of a powerful frame. Uh, the fourth are your operational inputs. And when I say operational inputs, I'm referring to inventory forecasting, your supplier flexibility, your MOQs, and basically overall just how your cash flow system is set up. Because if your ops here are reactive to the platform, your growth is chaotic, your risk amplifies dramatically, and plateaus happen very fast. In the fifth, kind of lining on the fourth one, on the fourth one that I just said is your capital discipline. Um, Not scaling before proof of concept is shown, not overspending early, and certainly not expanding your SKU catalog too aggressively without sound logic or proof of concept that it makes sense to do so. Uh, Many brands tend to scale on fragile foundations, and that may have worked before, but nowadays, if it's not done properly, ice will break underneath you and you'll fall straight through. I'll give somewhat of a quick example of this from a brand that we worked on within our agency that felt stuck. It was a startup brand, and they felt that hey, competition was overwhelming. Their cost per clicks were extremely high, and it was a problem. And the algorithm wasn't favoring them with regards to their program. But when we looked deeper, the issue wasn't traffic whatsoever. It was their inputs into their it was the inputs that they were feeding the overall system and in their organization. So their hero product had unresolved 2 to 3 star review friction due to product qualities. Their margins were tight and their supplier relations for their products was awful. And so scaling was really painful in that respect. Their creative wasn't clearly differentiated, and their SKU count in terms of the amount of items that they had in their catalog was just really creating noise more so than adding value towards the overall ecosystem. And so, the first thing that we did not do was take a look at, PPC and say, okay, structure this, do it happy, and then we're going to push on ads. PPC is a distribution tool. It's not a growth strategy. I'm going to say that again. PPC is a distribution tool. It's not a growth strategy. Instead, we focused on inputs. So on their behalf, what we did is we sourced and negotiated and secured terms with a new supplier that allowed for their products to have decreased cost of goods sold by 10% and also improve the product quality to address those 2 to 3 star reviews that we were seeing. But also that allowed for an improved positioning from a value and offer perspective due to the decrease in cost of goods sold. We adjusted their product and brand communication and also updated the creative to ensure that we were hitting on all the spots that we noticed were weak areas of their particular conversion optimization frame. We cleaned up their SKU logic immediately in terms of their catalog and removed underperforming SKUs that were really just tying up cash flow. And from there, we also tightened their contribution margin parameters organization. From such, performance grew by 20% without chasing hacks. Amazon didn't just suddenly reward us for doing these things because, again, as I mentioned, this isn't a hack. These are systematic implementations that were leveraged to get a certain output. And Amazon simply responds by better inputs into the ecosystem because you're able to then extract out more value. Because the hardest part, most brands misdiagnose the current frame of Amazon, in my opinion. Because the hardest part, to be frank, is it's often easier to blame the platform and Amazon itself than audit your system. It's really easy to say Amazon is saturated, PPC is broken, it's too competitive. It's harder to say, well, our margin structure is weak, our creative is unclear, and our product has no differentiation, or our catalog or SKU catalog is too messy. If growth feels hard, if your growth feels hard now, I would say don't complain about what's changed on Amazon. Audit your inputs because Amazon didn't change. It has made adjustments, but it hasn't changed fundamentally. What has changed is your margin for error, as I keep going back to. Overall systems now are separated from those who scale and from those who fail simply by their overall arc structure and how the inputs they're feeding into the system to get a certain output. And at our agency, this is how we approach brands. We're not a marketing agency. We're not PPC consultants. We build systems and operations for brands to scale. Because when the inputs are right, Amazon becomes predictable. And that's why, overarchingly, I wanted to create this overall webinar piece today to discuss the overall ecosystem elements and the things that you can do to feed the overall program accordingly so that you can get the maximized output. Each speaker today is going to touch on inputs into that particular system, and you're going to hear them from different angles, but they all have the same core principle. Because when your inputs improve, your outputs will follow. With that in mind, I'd like to start with Or from Asset Compliance Group and take over, and you'll hear some wonderful insights moving forward from everyone involved. Or you're on mute, brother.
Wonderful, thank you. So thanks for the introduction. Thank you everybody for joining. And what you said about the inputs, it's very important because today I'm going to speak about suspensions. And obviously how to prevent them based on the inputs that you are given to Amazon. So my name is Shamosh. I've been around since 2016, a decade now of providing appeal services. And I'm always coming in and joining a lot of webinars to try and give people insights on how to prevent the issues that are causing suspensions. Took the thousands of cases that we've dealt with over the years, sort of reversed engineered everything to understand what are the trigger points that causes suspensions, and based on it, hopefully, to share with you and see how we can prevent them. And today I will speak about something very specific that is relevant for everybody. So my goal here is within the next 10 minutes to show you some quick tips and value points that you can and should check and implement today that will hopefully either help you avoid a suspension altogether, or if you are still suspended for some reason, help you resolve it by yourself much faster. I will also say that I'm not good at making presentations, so I let some AI tools create a presentation for me, but there were so many, so I created two presentations, so you choose which one is better. And it's talking mostly about Amazon's AI tools. What else? Amazon is implementing, let's share it so we can see. Um, I think you should be able to see it now. Let me know. Yes? Good, perfect, thank you. Okay, so there is a project by Amazon called Project PI. Who have heard of it? I'm assuming no one, because why should you have heard of it? Project PI, Private Investigator, is a project that Amazon implemented in 2024. 100% algorithms and AI, it's called multimodal LLM within their warehouses. The goal of this project is to identify product defects. So think of it as some machine that scans everything in the warehouse 24/7. If it does it and scans everything for so-called defects, why wouldn't it also scan your product, your packaging, your inserts, how compliant you are? So this is what they are basically doing. They are not only scanning it as they say they are for defects to help customer satisfaction, but also to unfortunately suspend sellers. Many times it's mistakes because it's AI which is making a lot of mistakes yet. But this is a project that is integrated in Amazon, and a lot of people are thinking I will get suspended only once I will make some major mistake or violation. So no, in 2026, it's even from your fulfillment center, completely automated based on imaging tunnels. So the multimodal is based on a few trigger points. If, for example, you have a customer feedback, and remember, I have two presentations, so let me know which one is better. I will show you the summary after. So the one is the customer feedback. If, for example, someone reports wrong size, Amazon automatically checks it with the data that they have scanned from their warehouse. And I will show you step by step how this vast amount of data that accumulates will eventually lead to a suspension. If, for example, so we said the feedback from the customer, we said the image capture itself, which is 24/7 for millions of products a day, not only when it arrives, but only also once it ships out. So Amazon is scanning everything. And then they cross-reference it with their multimodal LLMs, some sophisticated algorithms to understand everything with OCR, with some capabilities to understand what is written, to cross-reference and check it against each other. And then they enforce. Many times it's an automated trigger. And if you think that you can come and explain to Amazon, now it's a wrong batch, now you misunderstood, now the customer feedback is not relevant, no, it's automated. They first suspend and they then ask questions. So why not get suspended? Maybe it's easy in some cases. It is. A lot of the suspensions that I am dealing every day could have been avoided. So why not avoid it? Obviously, it has some downsides. For example, you need to have less good variations or less good keywords because they have violations. I'm not telling you let's do 100% risk-free, but at least know what you might face. A few of these which you might face are very high risk inputs. which personally I would suggest avoiding. You want to take the risk, go ahead, at least know that at least since 2026 it is automatically scanned. Who of you is putting a QR code on your packaging? Some is compliant to a warranty or back to Amazon's review page with an honest review request. Wonderful. A lot of people are doing it for your external website. To register for an email sequence so you can ask them for a review or give them a free gift in exchange for a review. A lot of people are doing that. A lot of people are not getting caught up. But today, if everything is scanned, why you want the machine that scans everything also scan not only your packaging, but also the QR on the packaging and also analyze it and save it. For what? For future reference if Amazon will want to enforce. So they are doing it. And so the QR codes are less safe these days because it's not up until now, it was a random human check because it takes a lot of work for some warehouse employee to come to take your packaging, to open it, to scan the QR code, to check, to log it. No, now it's automated. We have Project PI that does it 24/7. Another example is the medical claims. If you write in your packaging some kind of prohibited medical or pesticidal claims, some things that are not accurate to the product, for example, if you sell supplements, you know about it, be extra careful today because with OCR technology, now Amazon identifies everything. A third issue is multi-language packaging. If you want to expand to Canada, and I will explain why we are talking about all of this. Because we want to prevent it, obviously. This is the main thing that people are getting suspended for. So if people want to expand to Canada, the packaging itself, most of it should also be in French, English and French, because it's an official language in Canada. And then people send the inventory from USA directly or use their multi-channel fulfillment network or the North American and so on. And the inventory is the same from the US fulfilled into Canada. That's prohibited. And then Amazon comes and asks for the packaging images to see if it's compliant. And then people Photoshop and put the French next to the English. So far, it worked because Amazon doesn't really know. They are in Canada, I remind you, they don't have the inventory to check physically. So people just send photoshopped images in French and get approved. But today, Canada can automatically speak with the USA and they already have the packaging and they already know that you don't have it in French. So you need to be extra careful. So how do they do it? So as we said, they gather the customer feedback, the warehouse images, the listing data, your product description page, the PDP, which is the title, bullet points, description, A plus, search terms, and images. So they have everything. This creates a data set, and they analyze it, they cross-check it, they ensure that everything is consistent or inconsistent, and based on it, they make automatical removals. So what I would recommend, other than being aware of it and knowing and trying at least the most serious suspensions, be ready for the situation that Amazon might suspend you, maybe in a mistake. And what I would suggest to everybody is take the real life packaging, not a mock-up, not a Photoshop one, the real packaging of your product. Take images of it of all 6 sides, also from the top and the bottom, even if it's empty. This is a regulatory requirement. Once Amazon will suspend you, if they will ask for the 6 sides. So many times I had such suspensions, and then it took 3 days for the sellers to obtain it from their warehouse, from their supplier, from a backup good that they have. No, why? Stop. Don't waste your time on it. This is something that will be needed. Make sure you have a copy of all 6 sides. There you go. You saved 3 days of suspensions. make sure it's 100 consistent with what you put on the listing, because as we've said, they cross-check all data. If this is what actually exists on the packaging, make sure this is what you also show on the listing. And also make sure you understand it's not only the packaging, it's also the insert. It's only also the product itself and the label. So make sure you also cover that. And if you find any mismatch, personally, I would suggest to take immediate actions. For you to have one set of clean documents that is constant all across. That was basically it. So hopefully you could have prevented the next suspension. Hopefully you learned something. And let's make just in 20 seconds the next slide, if I will be able to switch with it. Oh, great. And then you tell me which is better. So we talked about I don't know what I'm doing. So we talked about the inventory, which has been the actual data for the enforcement. They scan everything 24/7. They see everything. They check the QR codes. They can scan it and can check everything now. If you changed the listing images versus the actual images, they know about it. I think this presentation is better. They have the three signals of the warehouse, the listing data, and the feedback, which is the complaint. And then you should capture all 6 slides, make sure you have everything checked out and line by line aligned consistently. And that's it. If you need anything, feel free to scan this QR and reach out. Happy to help with anything you may need, and wishing you good luck. Thank you very much.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much, or appreciate you. Alina, you're next up to bat.
On here?
Yeah, Wi-Fi sounded good.
Yeah. Sounds good. So should I start already? Yeah, sorry.
Absolutely, please do. Absolutely, please do.
Okay. Working? Okay. So, hello everyone. Very happy to be here. Thanks, Ian, for having me. My name is Alina. I am speaking from Romania. I am the founder of AZ Rank, which is also a boutique agency which helps brands launch and scale on Amazon and other marketplaces. We've been in the industry since 2017, so not yet a decade, but almost. And today I will be speaking to you about also bad inputs, but the ones that are related to rankings, and especially in terms of keywords and sources of how to get those keywords for your listings and how to scale. So most of the times, it seems like a lot of sellers are getting trouble with not getting their organic rank where they want to be, even though they spend a lot of time and money on ad spend, also on optimization. With all that, the organic rank is not moving, and even though it's more effort, we get the same results. These problems most of the times are seen like traffic problems. We've been seeing pretty much almost every category that's possible to exist in Amazon in the last 9 years. So I can tell you for a fact that most of the problems are not traffic problems, especially in the new let's say, the new Amazon that has been updated lately, like Ian was telling. It's the same Amazon, but it's just been updated with AI, with all those inputs they've made. It's not a traffic problem; it's a relevance problem. So we've seen this a lot in a lot of campaigns that we've done for our clients. Amazon wants to understand the product first because before your ads start working, before you can actually say that you have an ad problem or a traffic problem. I've put together like a pattern recognition engine which has worked extremely well for most of our launches in the last couple of years. It all starts with the inputs. The bad inputs are usually broad keywords. Early scaling means, you launch a product today and you want to scale it to the level at which the bestseller in the category is in no time, which is not possible. And also irrelevant traffic, because even if you just look into the Amazon traffic itself, and we're not talking right now about outside traffic. So just looking at Amazon, if you're only doing PPC, like old school PPC, targeting a lot of broad keywords and very generic ones, you confuse Amazon. Amazon gets confused signals. You're not going to get a good conversion, obviously. And at the same time, the attributes that goes into the backend, the category, subcategory, it's wrong. And I'm sure everyone that is selling on Amazon has had at least one time a situation where your product, you listed your product into one category and 2 days later or 2 weeks later, you found it in another category. That's an input problem. That's a problem. That's something that Amazon decided for you. And that is not because you did something wrong entirely. It's just because it wasn't clear enough to Amazon what you want to do. And of course, the outcome of all this is expensive PPC, your ranking doesn't move, low visibility, and so on. Everything that we're all afraid of. Now, what I'm trying to let out of this presentation, what I'm trying to get you take away out of this is to focus on long tail keywords, high intent traffic, and niche relevance. And this is very easy. I mean, not very easy, but way easier than it sounds. If you choose your keywords correctly, and I will, the next slide, it contains a very straightforward example of what I'm trying to say here. If you focus on long tails when you launch your product, if your traffic is where it's supposed to be, if your inputs in terms of relevance are significant to Amazon, then everything works right. And when I'm saying relevant, it means to actually tell Amazon what your product is and what your product does. Don't focus on keywords such as, I don't know, man gifts for Christmas. That's not relevant. Amazon won't know what to do with it. It used to, but now it doesn't. Okay, for Christmas, yes, you might run some campaigns, some PPC, some Google Ads, some giveaway, some whatever, but not on the everyday basis. And this is the example. I took a supplement because, it's very trendy right now. It has always been and it will always be. And my example is referring to Shilajit, right? Which is a supplement that can be seen either capsules, either raisin. It can be used in several ways. Now, if you're only going to focus on, you're launching Shilajit, right? If you're only going to focus on Shilajit or Shilajit supplement, Amazon won't know whether that is a capsule, there's a powder, you're going to put it in your coffee, in your drink. It's going to help you sleep or be awake or have energy or whatever. It's a mixed intent. You need to tell exactly what does it contain, what does it do, and what does it help you with. That's relevance. And you'll see further on how that is relevant for this presentation. So what I've tried to design here is basically like a funnel, because we all know, right? We're all in the Amazon, in the marketing space. We all work with the funnel term. If your funnel starts with the big keywords, the broad ones, it's not okay. It should start the opposite way, from the downside, with high intent searches, because if you are going to be ranked on the long tail keywords, Amazon, by understanding what exactly happening and what your product does, will help you automatically rank on the big keywords. And this is proved in so many cases and in so many campaigns that we've done for our clients. What I want to emphasize in this presentation is a hidden gem, as I call it, in Amazon Seller Central, which is the Product Opportunity Explorer. A lot of sellers have not heard about this, and are, even if they heard, they are not using it properly. It's found under growth. Everybody has access to it, and it literally can help you understand what Amazon sees relevant for a particular category or niche. How you should start approaching it is to go into Product Opportunity Explorer, and either if you're looking at an existing product or if you're launching a new one, just type in your main keyword, right? In this example, I've used collagen peptides, which, you know, it's huge. And as you can see, you have here a lot of niches, right? Because also collagen peptides comes in a million different variations, and capsules, powder, and so on. But if you then click on the products and you find the relevant products that are compatible to yours, basically your competitors, and then go into search terms, then you will find a list of usually 20 to 30 keywords that are the most important keywords for your niche. Usually they are broad keywords, like very large, and if there is a huge winner in your niche, it usually has the brand name. So, for example, in our case, it's Vital Vitamins. It's a huge brand in the US, so you will find keywords here because they are very relevant for this niche. But again, you will do your optimization. You will add all these keywords into a Google spreadsheet, and you will take the most important and most relevant ones for your specific product. And then what I recommend doing is that going to Helium-10 Magnet and finding long tail keywords, which also are relevant, because Magnet sometimes gives you a large number of responses. So you go and filter those, and then select your relevant keywords. This is how a list should look like. For example, if your Product Opportunity Explorer keyword would be collagen for women, which has a search volume of almost 200,000 search volume, your long tails would be organic collagen for women, best collagen, collagen for women powder, if there's a if this is a powder we're talking about, right, and so on. And that, as you can see, these search volumes are very decent. You can easily rank on these, either using PPC, either using AZRank, us, for helping you rank on them, or whatever. You can easily rank on them. And in the minute you are ranked on these keywords, Amazon will know that your product is an organic collagen for women, the best one, it's powder, and so on and so forth. And then the Product Opportunity Explorer keyword that we are actually wanting to rank for will also get a huge increase. Of course, you will need to continue then ranking on the main one, but the start is this. Basically, this is the list of keywords that Amazon thinks are relevant for a specific niche. This is what Product Opportunity Explorer gives you, and it's huge. It's enormous in terms of us as sellers. Myself, besides being an agency owner, I'm also a seller. I have a couple of brands on Amazon, and I have been struggling all these years. So I know both sides of the coin. So this is extremely valuable for knowing as a seller who wants to launch a new product, right? Now, of course, we're all looking into the AI, right? We have Rufus, we have Cosmo on Amazon, we have a lot of that. I only put just one slide in this because the conversation would be really long regarding Rufus. What we've seen, and I tried to summarize this, if you start your launch properly, if your attributes are correct, if you tell Amazon exactly what your product is, then it will be a lot more easier to teach Rufus, to teach all the language models out there what exactly your product is, and then you will get more responses and also hopefully recommendations for them. Because again and again and again, I'm always coming back to relevance. AI can't recommend what it doesn't understand. You need to, I don't know, teach it like it would be a child. That's how I usually tell my sellers. So conclusion is, teach relevance first, scale second. Don't go wasting your money on trying to scale on huge keywords before the long tails, because I'm not saying you're not going to make it, but it's going to cost you way, way more. And sometimes it may not be as efficient as this solution. And yeah, Amazon rewards what it understands. That was it. Thank you so much. I do apologize that I won't be able to stay to this webinar until the end. So please, if you have any questions, my contacts are here. Please email me with any questions you have for this. I have a family thing that I really need to be at. It's 8 p.m. here. So thank you so much for this, and I hope it helped. Thank you.
Thank you, Alina. Enjoy your event. Ash, what do we have for the family?
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Fantastic. Awesome. Well, honored and glad to be here. Thanks for having me in. Let me know if you see my screen or if you do not.
We're good to
See
go.
my intent beneath the intent. Okay, awesome. Well, once again, love what Alina shared. I'm going to touch on a lot of different topics, really the intent, the search intent. Every search term has a surface meaning, right? Which is the meaning that what the keyword itself reveals. But every time a shopper types something in, there is something deeper, a mindset that they come in, and that dictates what they click, what they trust, and what ultimately they purchase. And a lot of people optimize for that surface, right? That's where old school SEO comes in play and started from Google when that first came to Asia. Now it's obviously we're seeing it on Amazon. So I want to go through really quickly what that looks like, and then maybe give an opportunity for people to ask questions, or if they want to follow up or dig deeper, happy to do that also. And I want to share some real data from some of the brands that are on our platform, as well as our own brand. So real quick, just about me. I started on Amazon 2017 from my own garage. Products were good, reviews were solid, sales lagged, and the problem was my workflow and my keyword research. I built a tool to fix it. And then I was part of masterminds. Other sellers asked for access, and then agencies. And later on, that tool became Keywords.am. And so I've been where a lot of sellers are today, and things have shifted radically in the past year and a half since AI became pretty much mainstream. So everything I'm going to share today, it really comes from my own personal experience and from the brands that we've worked with. All right, so does that look familiar? People, you're optimizing, you're adding keywords, you're doing your research. Why aren't sales growing? You're adding keywords, you're spending more on ads, you're constantly rewriting, tweaking. Revenues are not going well, and the ACoS is going higher. And ultimately, what ends up happening is you're paying for clicks that people who are not even looking for your version of the product. They click, they leave, and Amazon actually learns that your listing does not satisfy a group of people, and the game changed. The algorithm now understands meaning. Rufus reads the listing in the way buyers do. Context, intent, whether your product actually answers a question. Stuff and keywords will hurt you. And I run a company called Keywords, so I know what I'm talking about. Ads do get cheaper when you buy the wrong clicks, which is ironically, duh. We're seeing that. I don't know if you guys noticed, but Stripe just released these 5 levels of what e-com is starting to look like, AI e-com hype. And people are really obsessed about level 4 and 5 because that's where all the sci-fi stuff happens. But if you look at what is going on right now, level 1 and 2 of agentic commerce is happening. And that's descriptive search, where people are literally explaining situations of that they are dealing with, problems that they're having, and looking to get, and they're getting product suggestions from, whether it's through ChatGPT or through internally Amazon. So matching keywords are no longer the goal here. So historically, we see keyword search volume is where the holy grail was. The high volumes, it's how many people are searching. There's signals to reveal what the buyers are looking for, what they're feeling. Volume is always, and it is still showing you demand, but intent shows desire, reveals something below, an emotional state that drives clicks and purchases. And in short, there is this connection that a product or a brand needs to have with the buyer in order for the sale to happen. So let's look at those 2 levers here, the CTR and the CVR. That's the holy grail. The best way to grow a brand is using optimizing for CTR and CVR. And I believe Monte are going to talk probably even in more details on that. And I'm looking forward to that. But what we're seeing, and I think a lot of us are seeing different, we're shedding the spotlight on the same issue from different angles, right? But ultimately, click-through rate, do they click on your listing? And CVR, its conversion rate, are they buying, right? And little tweaks like that, if you look at the metrics, if you have 10,000 people looking at your listing and you at a 5% CTR at 2% CVR, you're ultimately with 10 sales, right? If you are tweaking CTR to go from 5 to 8, conversion from 2 to 3, you go from 10 orders to 24 orders. That's more than double your revenue, right? You go from $300 to $720. And I want to talk a little bit about what that looks like, how to optimize CTR and CVR, right? So you control that. Brands control the CTR and the CVR biggest levers, right? CTR is controlled by your main image and your title, right? If you got a crappy main image, people are not going to click. If you got a crappy title, people are also not going to click because you have attention span in 2026 has gone so much shorter. And if you drop the ball on any of that, people are dropping. And ultimately conversion happens with your A+ content, your visuals, your description, all the other stuff, with a lot more weighing on images, photography, but it all comes down from your keyword research, from the research you've done. So look at these products, for example, wedding table numbers, right? And I pulled these data from our dashboard. Wedding, 770,000 volume, no searches whatsoever for table numbers. Wedding decoration, wedding supplies. Another example, 40 birthday cake topper. Birthday decoration for women. Look at the volume, no purchases. So ultimately, the old school of thinking volumes matter. They show you demand, but ultimately they don't lead to purchases unless you grow into that after optimizing, working your way through the funnel. Some of the things that Alina mentioned earlier. Let's look at some of these long tail keywords, gold table numbers 1 through 30. Look at the volume compared to the previous volumes, right? But at a conversion rate of 22%. 40 cake topper gold, again, conversion rate 19.4%. These type of terms, 15 times more conversion, more purchases than terms with like decorations that are very abstract and undeterministic. Ultimately, intent matters, but that's not even the deepest layer of desire of a buyer. So let's look at what comes after that. Buying mindset is tied to neuroscience and brain chemistry. The shopper is looking at a million things on Amazon, and they're not going to give you a second chance if you don't manage to connect with them directly. Your data tells you which mindset dominates the highest converting terms, right? And your main image should speak that mindset. Joy, are they looking to celebrate something? That comes from dopamine. That's brain chemistry. Trust, oxytocin, which is, do they trust the brand? Will this offer am I trusting if I were to buy this Bluetooth speaker right here, will that give me the quality of the sound that I want? The confidence, which ties to serotonin, that is that, am I confident that this, if I'm looking for a keyword like gold cake topper, is it going to reflect the taste that I have? What we do with our agents and our models, we look at what we call the decoder framework. And this is what the mindset, and I think anybody should go through that exercise, go pull data from your own brand registry, download some search query performance spreadsheets, and go through, put together the sentence. They want blank because blank. They're buying now because blank, and they need to feel blank. That sort of decodes the mindset of a shopper in a product. So if we were to look at table numbers that I mentioned, for table numbers 1 through 30 for wedding reception, table numbers 1 through 30 for wedding reception, they want an elegant set because I have 30 tables. They're buying now because the wedding is coming up and they need to feel confident it'll look beautiful. So you were able to look at a keyword with a certain amount of volume that revealed a psychological state of mind that a shopper has. And when you're building your listing, you need to consider that or use a tool that does it for you, right? And here's some spreadsheet. This is a display from Keywords, and it ties a lot of that data together. We tie to brand registry, sales query, performance report, and then we help you identify some of these emotional state of minds that buyers have, or you can do it, download your CSV files and go through the exercise. Look at the highest converting terms that have decent volume, and you'll be able to get a couple of levels deeper in the mindset of your buyers. So this is a good example of what you don't want to do and what you do want to do, right? If you're representing your product like that with that image on the left, this is not enough to establish trust. Zoom in, show me what gold looks like. Show me that this is a product that will fit what I need. And this is an example of a 40 cake topper, right? There is this moment of joy, and these were generated through keywords, by the way. Joy, 40th birthday cake topper, celebrating. You're seeing people happy. You're seeing people celebrating the event. Trust, it communicates, this is the event I want, this moment of celebrating with quality table, with a quality cake, with a quality product, and then obviously confidence. You got the badges, you got the things that back the product that you're selling. Again, when you're listing matches that buying mindset, your copy, your visuals, the keywords, the title, the right people click and the right people buy. And Amazon rewards you with more visibility. And that flywheel of ranking compounds where clicks and CPCs get lower and your margins start getting a little bit more healthier and a lot more exciting, like Amazon used to be before in 2018, 2019. So 300 a day becomes 72, right? And 109,000 a year becomes $262,000 a year. That because of this tweak and this alignment of psychology. So to sum up, every keyword, every search term has these two layers. What is typed and what the intent behind it. And I really hope that framework of asking these questions help reveal some of that, or at least will give you the mindset of chasing keywords with volumes is no longer the way to go about growing a brand and connecting with shoppers. So again, to succeed, you have to spend that time and figure it out, either depending on how your catalog and how big it is. And ultimately, data doesn't sell. Connecting with the buyers does. And that's what it comes down to. And the buyers need to understand and feel that they align with a brand that gets that. So once again, my name is Ash. Feel free to reach me, ash@keywords.am, or shoot me a LinkedIn message if you need to. And that's all I have for you guys today. And please, any questions, feel free to share them or over in chat, or yeah, I'm also very available.
Beautiful. Thank you, Ash. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Ganesh, kick it off, my man.
Cheers, thank you. I will share my screen. Just let me know if you can see the presentation. Guys can see it?
Good to go.
Cheers, thank you. All right, hey guys, I'm Ganesh. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at 3dimages.ai, and thanks for inviting me on. And since this is a webinar about why brands stall and how brands can put effort into standing out from your competition, I think it's super relevant to talk about 3D models in this context, as it's becoming one of the biggest differentiators. So my team spent months deep diving into how 3D models actually affect everyday products on Amazon. And we looked at categories where typically people don't think about 3D models, like supplements and cosmetics. And the results we're seeing are honestly incredible. So I'm excited to show you what we found. So here's the context for why 3D models are rapidly growing on Amazon. And over time, we've seen massive waves of new features released by Amazon. So wave one was A plus content, and the biggest brands jumped on it first and saw conversions skyrocket. But when A plus content was first released, not everyone used it because they couldn't justify spending hundreds into something that was below the fold. But fast forward to now, if you sell any product, you need A plus content to stay competitive, as mentioned before. Wave two was when Amazon announced they wanted videos on every listing, and which seems like an obvious feature, so it quickly became the industry standard for every listing. But in 2024, Amazon announced the third wave of 3D models. So what's the context behind this announcement and why is it important now? So Amazon looked at over 350 million products and saw that less than 1% were using their 360 spin feature on the mobile app. So Amazon decided to let brands create 3D models made by professional 3D artists. And after this announcement, we saw 3D models pop up for products with functional uses, like seeing a sofa in your living room or trying on glasses. But essentially, most brands miss the bigger picture. And the reality is, we've seen 3D slowly appear in hundreds of categories. So we're talking supplements, wheat packets, foam rollers, and even stickers. And slowly, 3D models are becoming the new industry standard across multiple categories where you'll never expect to see them because they are all boosting conversions. So, to understand why this is happening, you have to look at what Amazon discovered when they first experimented with 3D. And firstly, when a customer clicks the View in 3D button, they 2x their conversions, hence, they are twice as likely to buy from you. Secondly, simply having a 3D asset on your listing leads to a 9% total sales uplift on average. So, Amazon are proving that 3D works across multiple categories. But here's the real reason Amazon are pushing this so hard. It's because they hate dealing with product returns, and roughly 22% of returns happen because the item wasn't as described. And part of this reason is that the customer couldn't see the product from all angles or judge the size, scale, or texture from a flat photo. So why are some brands suddenly using 3D models on all these new categories? So here's an example to understand why this is a huge competitive edge. So this is a foam roller brand with a listing score of 10 out of 10 on Helium 10. So how would you optimize this listing? Well, most of you might be thinking to upgrade the hero image. So let's add a fitness model to this image. And after spending $100 to change it, you then realize 50 of your competitors have just done the same thing. And then you think, okay, let's change the A plus content to better showcase the features and spend another $1,000, for example. And then you realize it looks similar to all your competitors' listings. And finally you might think, okay, well, we need to create a new video. But most videos nowadays cost thousands to create professionally, unless you're using AI, of course. So many brands are looking at their listing and they realize they've ticked every box. You have a great hero image, A plus content, and a decent video showcasing the products. But you don't want to spend thousands redoing the same work for marginal improvements in conversions. So instead, we're seeing brands use 3D models because it adds a significant amount of engagement to your listing when people interact with it. And when you look at your competitors, basically none of them are using it because typically no one thinks of uploading it on something as basic as a massage roller. We actually found that in the top 10 bestsellers, only 2 of them had a 3D model, and they had 44% of the total sales amongst the top 10. So let me tell you what happened when we uploaded a 3D model to this brand called Mobo. And surprisingly, we boosted conversions from 3 to 7%. And we tracked this category over the past few months, and no new competitors have uploaded 3D models amongst the best sellers. So there's so many first mover advantages in thousands of categories. So we're collecting data every day, and we believe it should be a high priority for every brand to use 3D models. And when we introduced this for Mobo, we discovered a powerful multiplier effect that happened over time. And it's similar to what Ash was saying before. So here's how it worked. We already know from Amazon that every time a shopper clicks view in 3D, the probability of a conversion doubles on average. So even if one customer purchased a product after seeing a 3D model, the Amazon algorithm saw the massage roller as more relevant and rewarded the higher conversion rate with higher organic ranking. And this consistently improved the sales over time, and it worked particularly well because barely any of the competitors had 3D models in the foam roller category. Now, if this sounds familiar, it's because we've seen this before with A plus content, and people understood that A plus content was a massive conversion booster purely from the premium feel. And few competitors were using this feature effectively. Except now, 30% of products across Amazon already have it, and it's become the industry standard. So, for example, in the bestseller category for massage rollers, 98% have A plus content already. So it's super saturated. We all know A plus content is expensive, takes weeks to optimize, and customers have to scroll past your price tag just to see it. However, 3D models are eye level. So when a customer clicks on your listing, it sits right at the top of your page before they ever see your A plus modules. With less than a 1% adoption rate across Amazon, there's a clear first mover advantage. So I'm obviously not saying one is better than the other, and both A plus content and 3D models have its own uses, but ultimately everyone purchases them for the same reason, to make their listing feel more premium. So what else can you do with your 3D model? Well, you can upload them to all the channels listed here, like Walmart and Shopify, to reap similar benefits. And secondly, AI tools like Adobe Firefly recently had an update where you can drop your 3D model into their software and design AI lifestyle images and videos with 360 context. Thirdly, if you're launching a new product, you can use 3D renders to set up listings and websites before your product is manufactured. And finally, you can have iPhone-style cinematic videos of your product using 3D animations. So if 3D models have all these benefits, why hasn't 3D completely been mainstream? Well, to understand this, let me tell you about our experiences. So getting a 3D model was a nightmare when my team tried it over the years. And the first place everyone went to was freelancer websites like Fiverr. And our experience is that there are tons of freelancers out there who created 3D models for games, but now advertise under e-commerce products. However, these models almost always get rejected by Amazon as they have some of the highest technical standards across all marketplaces. They manually check colors, sizes, proportions, and ensure there are no visual mistakes. So when we use freelancers, we actually had 3 weeks of constant rejections with one of our brands. So this leaves the top 1% of brands who have an in-house specialist 3D team, and it's insanely expensive and a massive management headache. So for 99% of brands, it was just too hard to get a 3D model. So after experiencing this pain firsthand, we built our company 3D Images for brands to get 3D models at scale. And we have over 150 vetted designers who get consistent training and updates on all Amazon compliance standards that we've unfortunately had to identify for ourselves. So we handle the headaches, and you can just send a couple photos and dimensions, and we'll send you a perfect 3D asset. And for most products, we're doing a 48-hour turnaround. So to the agency owners watching, if you wait for a client to ask for 3D models, you're obviously going to be in an endless waiting game because they won't ask for 3D models. They'll ask for more ways to boost conversions. So We offer a white label partnership, and you can start offering 3D tomorrow and add a new revenue stream. Alternatively, we can review all your brands and find the areas with the highest ROI. So lastly, we just have like an offer. So I want everyone to have a chance to get the next biggest competitive edge on Amazon. So in the next 48 hours, you can get your first 3D model for just $99. And I recommend you get at least one on your bestseller before rolling it out across all SKUs. So you can submit your product via the payment link, which is www.3dimages.ai/payment. And for any other inquiries, you can reach out to me anytime. I'm pretty accessible via email or LinkedIn, and you can book a call with me anytime. Thanks for listening.
I appreciate that, Ganesh. Thank you, sir. Mr. Desai, you're up next. Let's do it.
Thank you, Ian. How's it going, everybody? My name is Monte. I'm the founder of Pixii, the AI designer for Amazon listings. At this point, Pixii has generated probably 200,000 images and visuals for Amazon listings. Um, we've been at this for 3 years. Over that time, I've seen many stories of people going from, 40% tacos to under 20%, people tripling their conversion rate and click-through rates, and achieving their dreams, right? And seeing their brand scale. And so I can talk to you more about a few things. Before I get into that, just one thing I'll mention is that, the stuff that I'm talking about today, I think applies whether you're a Fortune 500 brand, whether you're an agency, whether you are, someone who has a job and is launching your very first product for the first time. Um, Let me just talk about, the theme is outputs and inputs, and I love that framing, Ian. So that was a really great way of talking about this topic. So I like to bring it all the way back, super, super simple, to a formula everybody knows, but this way we can just talk about it kind of as levers, right? So the output that everybody thinks about is revenue, right? That's the output, though. You're like, why is my revenue not growing fast enough? And then within that, if you think about within that, there's a bunch of inputs, the formula that you all know: number of impressions times the click-through rate, how many people actually click on your main image and go to your listing, times the conversion rate, right? How many actually buy, and then availability, like can you actually deliver the goods? Um, so you guys know all this, right? But then it's like, okay, well, what are the inputs to that? Because click-through rate itself is an output, conversion rate itself is an output. So then what are the inputs to that? Um, and if you click deeper, and every one of these sort of keeps going lower and lower and lower, and you can get to the very, very, very bottom of it. Um, I don't have to school this audience. I think they're pretty schooled on these topics. But I will say, if you think about click-through rate or conversion rate, the easiest way to fix this, well, now the easiest way to fix this is creative. Right? Before, creative would have been an absolute pain. You would have had to wait 9 weeks. You would have had to pay $20,000. You would have had to, go back and forth with a freelancer who doesn't understand your product, and all the issues that Ganesh mentioned earlier about freelancers. And as you all know this, you all know that image is the only way that customers can get in touch with your product, whether that's a main, whether it's a gallery, or whether it's a plus. They can't touch the product, they can't taste it, they can't talk to you. All you have is a tiny little piece of real estate on their phone or their desktop. Um, so what do? Right? You don't want to blow 20 G's, and you don't want to wait 9 weeks on new A plus content. AI now has transformed, and so I'll show you what AI can do nowadays in Pixie. However, everything that I'm talking about, there's many AI tools out there. There's Nano Banana Pro, there's ChatGPT. Um, yeah, so let me just dive in, and then you'll get an idea of how, if you want to see better revenue and better click-through rate and better conversion rate, well, you should change the inputs, and the inputs there are the images. So I'll just poke around, just to give you some context, right? These were all generated by AI in less than 2 minutes. So this is for Diablo, which is a blade, Birds Bees. They have a dog. They have a dog vertical inside of their brand as well, so you can get this lotion for your dog's nose or paw. Um, these are all generated one click in about 2 minutes with AI, and I'll do a demo as well. But if you think about, how does this improve click-through rate? Um, it's obvious, right? Like better image with a little badge to get some attention in the feed. How does it improve conversion rate? Well, this sequence now is actually answering questions. It's not just the package 4 times, right? Or it's not just like the random stock imagery. It's like, okay, the number one benefit in the second image, how it works, us versus them, a lifestyle shot showing who's using it and how and where. Um, and then, at the end, you can start talking about either trust badges or upsells to other features that you might have or other products that you might have. In this case, Nariva has an app that helps you that helps you track your fitness progress. I'll flip through a few more examples and then I'll run a quick demo and you'll get the sense very quickly. Um, yeah, I have my favorites as you can tell. Love that one. Gold infused lotion. I mean, what I love about Amazon is there's so many products out there. Cool. Let me just run one for you, and you'll see very quickly how it works. So this is a food brand. You can see they have some images here, a bit dated. This is a very well-known brand though, and then so it's kind of surprising that their content looks the way it does. A bit out of date, right? Even the A plus is like the old school stuff, right, with separate modules and kind of hard to read, kind of hard to figure out what's going on. Um, I'm gonna grab this listing or this ASIN, and I'm gonna go to Pixii. Just gonna drop in the URL here, okay? And let's give this a couple minutes to cook. So what goes into great images and how does Pixii do it? And how do you do it yourself if you're not going to use Pixii, if you want to use Nano Banana Pro or something else? Well, you have to look at a few things. So one, obviously the reviews. What is the customer saying about your product and competing products? What is it that they like? Why do they buy? Who are they in terms of demographics and psychographics? Your competitors and the alternatives, right? So what other choices do they have, in particular in this food category? Um, and then beyond your competitors, I think in Amazon we tend to get really, really hyper focused on the competitors. There's also the alternative, right? So for this one, my guess is the alternative, instead of buying this, you know, premium skinny food for your dog, like maybe you just have whatever bar you have laying around. You probably have some kind of biscuit laying around. You probably have the El Chivo version at Walmart or the dog brand or the big tub you can get from Costco. Or you can just give them table scraps. You cannot buy anything at all, right? So if your conversion rate in your listing is like 3%, let's say, 97% of people are not buying anything. Maybe some of them are buying your competitor's product. Maybe they're not buying anything at all. So you always have to keep in mind what the true competition is. Um, After that, you also have to think about, okay, now you've understood what customers are saying, what the competitors are doing, and your alternatives. Well, what are the best in class doing? Right. And so in this situation, what I would do if I had a day and I didn't have AI on my side, I would actually go to the pet category and look at the top listings and see what kind of visuals they're using. Oh, are they using ingredients? Are they using, lifestyle shots? Or are there some trust badges? And then based on that, take that as inspiration and then create a listing. AI doesn't do this for me here, but that's kind of that's part of the sequence. And let me just see what else is on the list. Okay. Finally, okay, there's a few more things here. You need to know your unique selling point. You got to have your brand profile, right? So you have consistency across all of your visuals, and then maybe the most fun part is like coming up with creative concepts to communicate your point in a unique way. And this is very, very challenging because in Amazon we have to battle on features, right? You have to be like, oh, I have this feature, I have that feature, and you're just kind of like jamming in as many bullet points and keywords and ideas as you can. But often it might make sense to focus on one big thing and a few small things. Um, so this is a creative strategy. All that stuff I talked about, reviews, competitors, alternatives, benchmarks, all that stuff would go into a creative strategy that you would create, an agency would create for you, or in this case, AI can create for you. Um, who are the customer segments? For this case, it's a treat for fat dogs, I guess. And so it's a weight conscious dog parent. Okay. That's a customer persona. The other is someone who's doing training and they're giving out a ton of treats and they don't want their dog to get fat. Um, it's a very American problem. And sensitive stomach dogs, small dogs, and senior dogs, basically sensitive dogs. Okay, so what's your alternatives? Um, yeah, kibble, other training treats, homemade treats. You can do stuff at the house. The unique selling point, less than 4 calories a treat. There's a few other things here, but the main thing is that it's less than 4 calories a treat. Okay, that won't bore you with the reviews analysis, but there's customer needs, there's a functional need, the emotional need, the identity payoff. You have to think this through. You have to have your agency partner think this through, because it really does matter. You can't just be like, oh wait, it's 4 calories, or why does 4 calories matter? Oh well, I don't want my dog to get fat, and I want my dog to have a long life, and why does that matter? Oh well, I'm a smart, disciplined dog parent, right? That's why it matters. That's who you are. You take care of your dog. It's not this that it's 4 calories. And so if you hit them at that emotional, psychological level, you got them. Let's take a look. Okay, so again, main image, the number one benefit in the number two slot, always use that, or the number one objection, the thing that they're most worried about. So this is going to vary by category. If you're in supplements, for example, you often want to put nutrition labels. or ingredients here. So the number 2 slide you should pay a lot of attention to. Number 3, ingredients. So this is a treat made with real whole ingredients, sweet potato, bacon, apple. Number 4 shot is going to be, what it doesn't have. So no wheat, corn, or soy for your gluten friends. And then use cases. So this is for training, and then us versus them. From here, you can do a bunch of things, right? Once you have the core set right, you can actually keep experimenting. You can say, actually, no, I want to show something like show a dog being trained by his dog mom. You can, create a seasonal variation, right? This actually matters quite a bit on Amazon. If you keep your listing fresh and your competitors are keeping theirs stale, this is a good way to stand out. So let's do a quick Easter one. And then, A+ content. Let's add A+ content as well, and give this a minute. So while this is generating, inputs and outputs, right? If you think about this formula and you're like, all right, good, I cracked the formula. I did it once, I updated my listing, we're good to go. It's an ongoing battle because your competitors are always changing, your customers are always changing, the trends are always changing, and the algorithm is always changing, right? There's constant improvement happening. I will tell you that the scaling brands is brands that are from, the 10 to $100 million brands that we work with. They're the most sophisticated in terms of their team and what they do, and they're optimizing constantly. And when I say constantly, I mean they have a person dedicated to main image optimization, or they're looking at their listings, especially for their top 5 SKUs. I mean, every week, especially every month. And so this idea that I just made my listing and it's good is sort of like the absolute wrong way to think about this in 2026. Okay, so I'll just show you again what I added here. Dog being trained by his dog mom. Easter, I just literally wrote the word Easter, and we have here, maybe if you have dogs and kids together in your family, you can actually have a fun little Easter celebration. And while we're waiting on A+, A+ is here. Okay, cool. And then we have A+ content, right? So this, you really should use it if you're not using A+ content. It's an obvious opportunity. About 30%, only 30% of people look at A+ content, but those 30% of people are like interested in your product. If they're scrolling all the way down there, they're interested in your products. You got to win them over. Don't leave them on the table. It was always annoying to create before AI, and now AI just did it in one click. And so if you don't have A+ content, that's an easy win. You can boost conversion rate by 5 points. I've seen that quite often. And again, you want to be able to supplement and either reinforce the messages on the gallery, but also add a few other things. Like for example, here we're saying that's compatible with all stages of dog life. That's the keys. I mean, I don't want to belabor the point. I mean, I think everyone here would get the core idea. There's a ton of stuff that in terms of AI and tools and editing, but I don't think that's really in the scope of this discussion. But yeah, I mean, just to recap, revenue has a few inputs. That's the Amazon formula. Those inputs have their own inputs, and you can play with them. The easiest ones that you can make today are your creative. That's the fat thing you can change fast. The product, the positioning, the supply chain, all that stuff takes time. The quickest and fastest way to boost your revenue, sometimes 30%, sometimes 300%, is by optimizing your creative with AI. That's it for me, Ian. I'll pass the mic.
Awesome. 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 Thank you. Andrew, your batting cleanup.
All right. I'm last one.
Yes, sir.
Cool. Thank you. Appreciate all of those conversations beforehand. It was really awesome to hear, from everybody individually. So this is going to be sort of a fun one because I've never had a perspective like Or's come on before or after me at one of these. And I'll skip to the chase. We do QR codes. So let me sort of like give you background about me and what we're doing, and then I'll show you the platform, what we do, why we do it, etc. So, and if anyone was, missed it or had sort of a slide about QR codes are a no-no. So let me give you sort of a background of what we are up to, and or would love a long conversation later. So, what my background is I come from a retention marketing platform called Klaviyo. So I was an early developer there, started 8+ years ago. like really close to the founders, ended up taking this off, right? So what happened is I started working with a bunch of Shopify brands. And on Shopify, the most important lever to increase your brand is retention. So 80% of sales on average on Shopify, somewhere between 60 and 80, comes from customers that have already purchased. So when I was at Klaviyo, I started running reports and I was looking at like hundreds of brands. Like one prince in Saudi Arabia spends more on G Fuel than you will spend on a house per year. It's absolutely insane, and I'm not exaggerating. If you find a way of relating to your customers and actually increasing retention with your customers, then you're going to increase your business, and that should be the major lever. But if you look at the reports that I made, before leaving Klaviyo to sort of solve this problem, there are no similarities in terms of retention on Shopify and retention on Amazon. And due to that, Amazon's had a lot of issues throughout the past few years, issues onboarding accounts. And I've talked to a bunch of people like in Seattle at Amazon, et cetera. I'm sure everyone here has, but Amazon has had issues onboarding accounts, has issues with retention. Some of Amazon's top brands, some of the top brands in the world, have been considering leaving Amazon if they haven't already. And a lot of the reason why people are starting to leave Amazon is because of that one thing, retention. It's absolutely impossible to keep a customer, get a customer coming back for more. Like if I sell G Fuel, then I should be able to message my customer within 30 days to buy more G Fuel. And if I can't do that, then I don't even have a business. So that's my one take on Amazon and why it's sort of like having a bunch of issues right now and why a lot of brands are stalled. It's because there's overhydration in the marketplace at this point. Chinese sellers, sellers internationally in general, combined with just way too many of the same category products. And there's no way of differentiation with understanding who and relating to a specific customer. So the first step of like Swapt's giant journey is uncovering your customer. And unfortunately, due to the lack of ability of getting that email address from Amazon, Amazon's not going to share it with you. We put QRs on, not to review manipulate, not to do anything. It's strictly to understand who your customer is. I'll show you the platform in a second. And bring that customer. And I don't care where you bring it, but I do want you to bring them back to Amazon because ultimately that is what Amazon wants. So my 2 points is that Amazon wants you to keep your customers on Amazon and they want you to not manipulate reviews. So just don't touch the review stuff and incentivize people with Amazon discounts. That's sort of our ethos as Swapt because you're still getting what you want, which is multi-purchases. So let me show you, let me show you what our platform looks like. So when you work with us, the way it works is you create a QR code. That's the first thing. The best way to make them, and a lot of people say you have to hide QRs. I don't like hiding QRs because it decreases scan rate. So we have 400 clients now. We have millions of QRs out there. We've never gotten a single warning on Amazon. I'd be extremely surprised if anyone has ever heard of someone having issues with Swapt. I know some people lie, but not a single brand that we work with has had issues. I like making them really big, which is totally opposite from the machine scanner idea, but I really like a big QR code. The reason why is because it increases the scan rates. And I really like higher scan rates because that's how you're going to make the most money. What happens is once someone scans that QR code, I'll show you a flow. The way it works is we have drag and drop landing pages. So once you scan, you enter into one of these flows. It's like a sophisticated marketing funnel that has a multi-branch approach. So the flow is, hey, thanks for choosing us, leave your details below. And you leave your details in exchange for, oh wait, I forgot to open up the promotional tab, in exchange for a promotion. So the way that our promotions work is that you import your promo codes directly from Seller Central. So Seller Central has a way and we have a YouTube video around this, of exporting individual unique 15% off promo codes. So once you export those promo codes, you just import them into our app. You don't have to manipulate the file or anything. And we show you usage, when they're used, and we can even get who uses them. So you know who's purchasing off Amazon and the percentage of them that are used. So for example, like this brand is giving out promo codes. 39 of them have been used so far. And then, you put the promo code. We have dynamic variables allowed where you can put the promo code wherever you want, and you can also add them to email. So what I recommend is you grab your Amazon referral link, because Amazon likes it when you bring Amazon customers back to Amazon. They give you 10% back for a referral fee. So you put the referral link and you can send either an email or SMS. And we have like different email and SMS flows to help you bring more customers back to Amazon. And we are making features that actually help, because there's some use cases as well where you could have D2C clients or just an email list in general outside of Amazon where you might want to add people to this flow. I think the conversion rates might be a little lower, but you can bring in as many people through different flows to get them repurchasing on Amazon. And the whole goal is sort of increase that 1.1x repeat purchase rate you probably have right now to make it like a 5x. That's the majority of what we do. And that was a quick overview. Mine's a super fast pitch. Thanks everyone for coming. Appreciate it.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So we'll go into a little bit of Q&A right now. A couple questions that came across in that respect that I want to give people the opportunity to speak to. Kicking off with specifically when it comes to packaging and label inconsistencies, what do you tend to see are the most risky?
So first, by the way, I want to address what Andrew just spoke about. I love it. That's wonderful. I will never say no to a QR. I just want, if you don't mind, to emphasize the riskiest point about that. Putting the QR by itself looks, based on what you just showed me, permitted. Fantastic. Please mind though that as I talked about, the thing gets complicated once it crosses with other signals. So for example, if you give someone something for free, a discount, that's permitted, no problem at all. You refer them back to Amazon, wonderful. But what if you also send through your email automation some honest review request? That's when things get complicated, because honest review by itself is permitted. The QR, as Andrew showed us, is permitted, no problem with each individually. But once it's together, it's no longer an honest review because it's incentivized because he received some discount, something for free. So QR permitted, directing him back to Amazon with some coupon permitted. Then you ask him for an honest review, it's no longer honest. So this is what I would suggest, the tiniest thing to be careful about the context of everything together. So thank you, Andrew.
Thanks, Scott.
Perfect. And as for your question, so I would also suggest say exactly this, but again about the context of everything together. If you want to avoid major risks, think about what will happen if you will get suspended. You might need to remove your entire inventory. So, because you will need to remove the prohibited thing. So if it's a QR, as we just talked about, that's easy. I think you can just replace the QR, right, Andrew? Do you have in your system the option to change the QR?
Yeah, change the QR at any time.
Amazing. So if you have the QR printed on your packaging, and then let's say in 2 years from now, Amazon changes the rules and makes it prohibited, switch the QR, make it direct you to somewhere else or cancel it. So if you keep it something static, you will be forced to remove everything. So make sure you think about all the possibilities to amend and change yourself so you won't be forced to remove your inventory, because then the risk is financial.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. I'm gonna um, kick this question off, and I'd like some feedback specifically. Which the next one's the best? Just come through. Disregard. And one moment, guys. Make sure that we have this in line. Give me a little bit here. We'll go with Ash. Ash, specifically, can you let us know with regards to Rufus and the AI shopping agents now reading listings semantically, what's the single most important change a seller should make to their product detail page today, in your opinion?
Relevancy and identify, understand the mindset of the buyers. I think context is everything. Simplify, less is more. You don't need to tell me that this mug is good for coffee and tea and hot water and this and that. Just say it's a mug and it contains water in the language of what a human would be looking for. If it's if it's dishwasher safe, let me know that. But don't overemphasis on keywords. Relevancy is the key here. So
Beautiful,
yeah.
beautiful, beautiful. And Dana had asked if packaging, logo, and design are redesigned and the Amazon listing is still showing the old design, does Amazon see that as a mismatch? Um, as long as you have justified proof that you're going through some kind of branding development, you should be fine in that regard. If you do get flagged, which I doubt you would, it's very rare that that would occur. On your case, just make sure to one, provide that proof, and two, I would say on the immediate case, escalate it to leadership immediately in your message, and make sure you're not dealing with any lower level agents that are, just going to send you a template. Always escalate to leadership immediately on your original ask, so it gets to real decision makers with regards to Amazon support. Beautiful guys. This is overarchingly, I feel like this is an amazing session. Everyone who joined us live, appreciate you. Everyone who didn't join us live and you look at the recording, much love to you as well. And all of these particular presentations can be provided by you. We're going to put together a collection of these so that you can have easy access to them and go back and reference them whenever is needed. If you saw something amazing here today, please feel free to reach out to any of these amazing, people who joined the panel. As you know, they'd be happy to assist you and spread the love back. We're a community-based system here, and this is what it's all about. So much love to everybody again, and have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks all.